We are live. Just posting this on Twitter. Alrighty then, so let's start with a quick recap of where we are. So just briefly again what my approach is: brainstorm different markets, then test out different markets, see which ones are responsive, and with the responsive ones hopefully I'll be able to iterate quickly, and so I'll be able to sort of test out more ideas before the 24-hour startup challenge starts. So I'm at this point where I've brainstormed some ideas. You can see all my updates on my Twitter as well as in this Google Doc. I've tried to test some assumptions based on the markets that I came up with. Tried to reach out. It's been a bit more difficult than I thought. Especially I thought that I would get some responses from the different Slack groups and Telegram groups. I joined a bunch. But they, in general, they seem unresponsive or they're idle. It's difficult to sort of break into a new market and find a community where you have easy access to people. So I'll walk you guys through some of the things I've tried so far. Let's see here. I've got an overview here of the current opportunities as I see it. So I was going through different... let's just start with this one. Individuals trying to get their first product management job. So I'm a product manager myself, at least I used to be. So I have some experience with this market. And I was just going through the different Slack groups that exist. And I found that there's several that are related to product management. And they're also quite big. These are quite big Slack groups. Maybe we can fire up Slack and I can show you what I mean. So we've got the Product Manager HQ, which is like tens of thousands of people. We've got the product school one, tens of thousands of people. So I thought it was interesting that the Slack groups that are advertised online, there seems to be quite a big section that's devoted to product management. So I went in there trying to figure out what are these people trying to do. And if you go into channels and then you sort by members, most to fewest, okay, we've got San Francisco product, sure, we've got design, women in product, product leaders, growth, data products, podcasts, blockchain products. So this gives you some ideas of where there's some traction. So, but what I thought was interesting is here, I'm a member of a couple of these channels, and mostly, even though this is a group of like tens of thousands of people, it's mostly dead. There's very little action. And the action that does exist exists in PM interviews, people wanting mock-up sessions, and people wanting mentoring. So what I did is I advertised myself here that I'll do free mock-up interviews. So these are people that want to practice for a proper product management interview, that I'll do a free interview. So I gave out my Calendly link, and I've booked one interview already with someone on the condition that I'm allowed to record it. So that constitutes this idea. These are individuals trying to look for their first product management job. I'm finding them on Slack. After that, I'm connecting on LinkedIn. The problem is that they want to prepare for the product management interview because what they want is to land, usually their first product management job. So I'm thinking that maybe a solution to this problem is rather than spending my hours doing these interviews, because that's not a very scalable idea, is to do a bunch of interviews up front. Do some nice editing on those. So like you record the interview and then you go back and you voice over the interview, you pause it at key sections, you give people advice, that kind of stuff. You do a bunch of those and your product is like a video library of PM interviews where you coach these people, and then someone that's looking to get an interview can just get easy access to this video library. So that's the idea. I think I'll learn more once I do the interview. I think it's scheduled for, when is it scheduled? I think it was on Friday, so that's before the 24-hour challenge, so that will be good. Hello to viewers, good to have you here. So let's see. Yeah, it's on Friday. So that could be interesting. I might learn more, and then I guess one way to test this. So I'm able to easily connect with these people on LinkedIn, because the people that are looking for their first job, if I post my LinkedIn there and I say I want to connect, I'm a bit more senior than they are, and it's nice for them to be able to connect with me. So a lot of these requests were coming in on LinkedIn. I can build a mock-up landing page which looks as if it's a sign-up form for like a big video library of interviews, and then I can charge like $50 for lifetime access, and then see if people sign up, and then I can send this landing page to these people. So that's one idea. Another idea is that more for senior product managers, and this is also sort of a personal problem, a problem that I have as well, is that the reason we join these Slack groups in these communities is because we want to keep our product management skill set up to date. And you may or may not know, a product manager has like a very diverse skill set. It's more of a generalist than a specialist. So it's actually not self-evident what skills you need to advance or keep up to date to be a good product manager. So some advice on that, it would be useful too. So it would span different categories, whatever the solution should be. So it's doesn't seem to be what's on offer right now with these Slack groups. So I'm seeing these people, these like more senior product leaders say, maybe I should put that in here. Senior product manager. I'm seeing them join these Slack groups, and then the Slack group falls dead, and I doubt they're getting what they want from it. So that's early in the stage of the idea. It's not validated at all. I know I have it. I think I see it. But so one way would be to validate that idea is to build a validation landing page similar to the first idea. But in this case, what you would do, you would mock up a landing page and then pretending it's this vibrant community where there's like weekly webinars and there's a video library with different courses, wide ranging, different variety, something like that. And I actually have an example. Yeah, so I found one for like podcasters. So I'd basically just copy what they've done here, because this is if I were into podcasting, I would join something like this. So here we have the Podcaster Society, everything you need after episode 1, community, training, and support for hobbyists and professionals. Refine your content, enhance presentation. And here's some like a testimonial from a big podcaster. Here are the experts to help you. FAQ, weekly webinars, live chat, exclusive discounts, tutorial library, in-depth courses, access to podcasting experts, much more. So that's the if this were to exist for product managers, I think that's worth testing to see. The only problem is that it's a bit more difficult to get in touch with these people. They're a bit more senior, so I'm not sure how to get in front of them. So this would be easier to validate. Okay, then we have, as I was looking for responsive communities, because I want to look for responsive audiences and users that I can iterate with quickly, I stumbled upon a couple of podcasting groups. There's one on Facebook. So what I've done there, and this is where I've sort of jumped to solution mode, and this is generally not how you want to approach things. You generally don't want to have a solution and then be looking for a market. You want to market, understand the needs, and then let a solution emerge. But in this case, I was working on an Alexa app. Alexa is Amazon's voice assistant. I was working on an app recently, so I was getting into that scene a bit, and then I saw that there were a couple, not many, a couple of Alexa apps specifically for podcasts. So the idea is that you use your voice assistant or your Alexa Echo, use that in, say, your living room, and you use it to play music, but maybe also to play a podcast. But as far as I know, there might be like a built-in podcast player, but so I need to verify that. Is there playing podcasts with Alexa? But even if there is, you would have to, like, the way you navigate that podcast is like, play next episode, play previous episodes. It's very rudimentary. And it seems to me that it would be very suited for a Alexa specific app for each podcast, so that you could say, let's say it's the Joe Rogan podcast, and you're interested in let's say scientists. You could say, okay, Joe Rogan podcast, give me some interviews with scientists, and then Alexa answers and gives the names of the scientists that are interviewed and maybe their area of expertise. So just a more a suitable way of navigating through voice, and tailor-made for specific podcasts. I'm not a podcast creator, so I don't know if maybe that's a shitty idea, but I think there might be something there. How to listen to podcasts using your Amazon Echo. Yeah, so there's like a generic podcast player, Podbuddy. It's also notable that they all have pretty bad reviews, so that's an interesting area to look into. But so that's, I think, an interesting one. Yeah, I kind of like that idea. So you shouldn't be biased to what you like too much. But I put that there. I would still need to get in touch with these people, because although I've joined a Facebook group, I've asked this question to sort of stay under the radar, but no one's. So does anyone have experience with developing an Alexa app for their podcast? There's been no responses. I did a search on Reddit for Alexa. Yeah, no replies. So if I go to Reddit podcasters or something like this. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. What happened? I'm used to having almost no viewers. Anyway, let's look at Reddit. Podcasting. Yeah, so if you search here for Alexa. Have you thought about turning your Alexa podcast into Amazon Alexa flash briefing? Podcast on Alexa Pod, publish podcast on Amazon Alexa. So I'm neither a podcaster or an Alexa user, so it's a bit of a stretch, but it is a cool idea. So yeah, that might be something. What I can do is make a list of podcasters and then get their email addresses and then send them a pitch and then see if they respond. Something like that. So yeah, so that's in there. So let's see. We've got Dave. How do I pronounce your name, Dave? Dave Craig? Dave Craig is tuning in. That's nice of him to do. All right, let's continue with these. So then I realized while I was doing this, I was encountering some meta problems. So it's surprisingly difficult to methodically go through these different options that you have. Okay, maybe there's an idea here, maybe there's an idea here. And it's very easy to get lost into like solution mode, whereas you want to stay with the market, with the user need. And there's no, I'm still struggling with it, even though this is like one of the core things you're doing as a product manager. I don't really have a go-to framework for this. And I think it would be useful to have that. So it might be based on what I put in my approach. So, you know, like maybe it's a web app experience where you start off with like brainstorming market ideas, and then you start brainstorming ways to get in touch with those markets. And then it's just a methodical way to help you along this process. So that's I'm missing that a bit, and I'm also missing, you know, what should I look out for, this kind of stuff. Like, should I be concerned about, you know, revenue, validating revenue model, this kind of stuff. So I'm not sure what the solution would be. So very early stage. Then something else that I discovered is that if, let's say I was a super qualified developer and I just want to help someone solve a problem with software, and I'm willing to invest some of my own time and money into doing that, how do I find those people? I mean, there's many platforms that have these marketplaces that have apps on there. But it's, and I've seen those people because I've researched this topic before. I've seen those people using those platforms. So say Shopify store owners, they also struggle to find good developers. So it seems there's just such a disconnect there. And it's like a two-sided marketplace problem, but still, it seems there's such an inefficiency there that can be resolved. And then how do you break that down into a smaller problem instead of tackling that bigger problem of having to build a two-sided marketplace? Is it maybe you can just focus on the communication aspect, on bringing those two parties in touch with one another. So developers with platform users that are looking for something to be developed. I'm not sure what the solution would be, but that's how I would break it down. Then again, in my quest for responsive communities, I came across wedding planners, and there's a Reddit called Plan Your Wedding Planners. And yeah, there's a bunch of activity here. A bunch of people are, so this seems like a very active and responsive community. I haven't posted in here yet. So what I did do is I went through this, and then I did something similar to Amy Hoy's Sales Safari. I started noting themes. So it's a lot of talk about women, trying to figure out, is this my dress? Is this their dress for the wedding? And then whether they want to commit or not. And then that whole process. There's some talk about getting the right photographer for engagement pictures and whether those pictures turned out okay or not. This seems like almost all women, sort of what you would expect. And then there's some problems related to like booking the right venue, changes to the venue, this kind of stuff. Wedding pictures, losing weight before the wedding, and some, but not much, discussion about wedding destinations. All these sort of problem buckets, they all have markets and competitors, so that tells me there's something there, but there's nothing that I would say there's nothing that covers the user needs, from like getting engaged to needing pictures, just like the whole thing from A to Z, with like a community aspect like this. The websites that are out there that serve these, they usually serve one of them, and they're not very personal. They're they're a bit, don't seem to have like a good brand behind them, and that seems like one of the reasons why there's quite a lot of traction here. So I'm not sure. Don't think I'll pursue that further, because no problem really jumped out at me that I thought this is something we can tackle. Then another, I went through a bunch of subreddits to look for responsive communities, and then I found Twitch. So I have to admit, even though I'm using Twitch right now, I don't really understand what the dynamics are, because there seems to be a lot of seems that the gamers have really developed this to a whole nother level, and I'm not sure I understand yet. But one of the things that I notice is that these gamers, they have like followings, and they have their own Discord server for their following, and then people tune into this Discord, and then they I guess if their following is big enough, then they get an affiliate or something, which means hello Kyobite. They get an affiliate or something, which means that they get paid. So basically their goal is to get paid for streaming, which is quite interesting. What else is interesting is that there are Twitch extensions. So there's like a Twitch marketplace. Let's see if we can find that, because that's worth mentioning. Twitch extensions. So there's all these tools that sort of plug into Twitch that help you. I was watching a video, for instance, where a guy was like displaying like his not his high score, but like I guess something from the chat on top of his view in game, something like this. What do we have here? Analytics. Featured auto clip, bits. Wear Snapchat lenses while you stream. Like really quirky stuff in here. Extensions for games, viewer engagement. Allow viewers to react by pushing emotes live. Yeah, so you can see the viewers interact with your stream. Sound alerts. Play sound alerts on the stream using bits. Allows viewers to provide feedback by simply clicking on the video. Allow viewers to interact with stream avatars without using chat commands. Viewers get fun. Keep your viewers up to date with your schedule. Yeah, so there's some interesting stuff going on here, and what's interesting is that it's such a narrow niche like the gamers have taken this and have started to develop this, but now we're seeing the makers get into this space, and it's become fun to watch makers and to follow them on Twitch. I expect there will be developments, especially because makers tend to be developers, right? I expect there to be maker specific extensions to Twitch, and I'm just trying to understand what would those be. And one thing that comes to mind, like these are like about fan engagement. So yeah, I mean, leaderboards, interacting with your fans. So yeah, so these would then be developer specific for makers. So that's like an interesting space. I'm not even sure what to think about, but maybe there's like interactions between, so let's say you're live coding, you're live streaming, and then there's interactions from like GitHub that appear on your screen or something like this, or that appear on the so maybe there's like a high score that's like your amount of GitHub commits, and that's presented for the user that's watching you, that he can see how much you're shipping, something like that. I don't know, but this is like a space to explore. I thought that was interesting, and there seems to be a community here that you can interact with, and of course the makers themselves that are going to be participating in the 24-hour challenge. They're responsive, a member of a Telegram group, so that seems sort of close to home, you know. So that's an interesting space. And then one of the markets that I identified as what I thought would be a highly responsive market was the social media marketing agencies. So in my last stream, I contacted a bunch, and I got one guy that replied right away. And my pitch was basically, listen, I'm a software entrepreneur, and I'm looking for within different niches, within different industries, for a problem to solve, and then potentially develop software. Do you want to jump on a call? So he said yes. So we have a call tonight. So I'll update you guys on that. But that's interesting. That's one guy though. So I'm thinking one other option is to treat this as some level of validation that there's something there, and that maybe other social media marketing agencies are interested. So then I would have to continue with that exercise and email more, do some more outreach today. So I've got a couple of options here. To be honest, I'm not entirely sure which one to pick right now. I'm gonna have lunch in a second, but yeah, there's a couple of options here. So let me know on Twitter or in the chat if you've got a preference, or if you think something's a particularly good idea, and then I'll check after lunch. All right, thanks for tuning in, guys, and see you soon.